Hello YouTube, Blue Dad here, and we're about to change oil in the 2009 Chevrolet Malibu. This is not a unique procedure, however we're going to add in a few things that you probably won't see typically done. So without further ado, let me pop the hood and we'll take a look. I'm going to pop go out underneath, find the mechanism and move it to the right. I'm sure you can see that. Essentially what we're doing is moving this to the right. Okay, let me grab these tools here. We'll take a look. So today let me just talk a little bit about the oil change strategy we're using here. We use the Mobil 1 Advanced Synthetic, which is claimed to be good for 15,000 miles. We are running the oil for 10,000 miles, but changing the filter at 5,000 miles. So every 5,000 we just change the filter and top off the oil. Every 10,000 we change the oil and the filter. So this is a 5,000 mile. We're just going to change the filter. So as you probably know, if you just got a car like this, it uses a cartridge filter like an old tractor, which is underneath this cap right here where I'm pointing. One problem you've got is you could use a big crescent wrench, but there's no way to turn it. You can see to do the length of the wrench and the restrictions in the engine compartment, there's nowhere to put this. So in our shop we developed this special tool, and what it's got is we machined this in a CNC milling machine and bent the arm and welded it together. So that goes on the hex. What we do is you just use the tool one flat at a time to remove this cap. And for you to loosen up, it's easy to remove it by hand. Alright, so that's loose. Now before I pull it out, as soon as I pull it out, there's going to be oil. What's important to notice is where my hand is here, there's a big tube that's encased in this split conduit for chafe resistance. But this is actually the radiator hose, which is incompatible with oil. So we don't want to get any oil in this thing, as little as possible. And if so, we want to wipe it up immediately. So what I'm going to do is take your standard garden variety white paper towels. They're used in most kitchens across America. Wad those up and place those. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, diaper for lack of a better term, over top of the radiator hose. So any drips we're going to catch, or they're going to go down beside it. And I'm going to get a couple of these to catch the oil filter because it's going to be kind of dripping. I don't have it. Since we're not draining oil, we don't have a drain pan ready. So here we go. Alright, so this is the oil filter we've got. It's easy to pull it out. We just sort of pop it out of there. The one we took out was a Wix, which is one I bought. But I'll show you which filter I use and why I like it. The filter we're using is a Mobil 1 M1 151A. You buy it at many places. But the reason for that is, if you look at the end of this filter was made in USA, where most other ones are not. I've tried several different other kinds of filters. This is the one that came out of as a Wix that I just happened to buy. But as you can see, the Wix is made in China. So anyway, we're trying to support USA manufacturing and so forth. We're going to take this filter, just pop it on there till it looks concentric and lines up. Put a little bit of the old oil lubricant on that O-ring, which is going to go down and engage there. Now we got one other task here. This cap has its own O-ring, which I'm not sure if you can see, but as you rotate this slowly around, you'll notice there's a groove right here where I stick in the screwdriver, and I can remove, just carefully, I just want to start slipping that O-ring off. Now you can use these for more than one oil change. I've done it and nothing bad will happen, but you're paying for that new O-ring, so you might as well put it in there and change it. So it's pretty easy. You just gently stretch it across. You don't want to really just as long as you go easy and you don't have any dirt there, this thing will take all kinds of abuse. And you just roll it into the groove at the top. You want to lubricate this also with some of the old engine oil, and there should be enough lubrication down inside the bowl. So now we're basically ready to go. This is all concentric. That's lubricated, so we're ready to put it in place. So it's very easy. Just drop it in, let it line, just drop it in, and then slowly start threading. You don't want to cross thread; it's hard to do, but just by hand, tighten, 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 and eventually you'll feel the resistance building up of the O-ring starting to compress into the bore, and you just keep turning. And if your hands are out of strength, you can use the wrench, or you lose grip due to lack of friction. Eventually we're going to have to switch to the wrench, and you'll find when we get to the point, it just stops. And there's no need to refund it. The O-ring does all the sealing, and we're ready to go. So now we can pull this out. We did a pretty good job. We didn't really get any drips on anything. So that was paper towel well spent. There's only one drip that I can see. We'll just use that to clean off the cap. And now we're ready for another 5,000 miles. So let's check the oil. We're going to check the oil and see where we are. I haven't touched this in 5,000 miles. I take that back. I did have to check this sooner because I had to replace the crank nose seal. So we pull out the oil. A common misconception is you can just immediately look at the level after you pull it out. I always pull it out, wipe it off, discard the first reading, put it back in, seat it all the way, pull it back out, look at the telltale. And so that we're about a half quart low. So no problem, no big deal. We know we need about half quart. I keep a 5-gallon jug of the Mobile One on hand as a partial for just such things for filling the oil level back. So okay, so now we're just going to top off the oil. If you look what I've got here, this is the oil we're using, the Mobile One Extended Performance 5W30. It's good for 15,000 miles, claims the manufacturer, and we're using only 10,000 miles of that. So I may have said I had a partial, so I created a special cap that's got this little P on it that denotes it from other bottles which might be in the storage cabinet. And basically I'm going to use this in 1 quart increments to top off, I can use half of course, whatever I need to top off the vehicle, and then this P will just stay on this one because it's not going to be 5 quarts anymore, it's going to be some lesser amount. So I keep this special cap on here at all times to make sure I don't confuse it with others. Okay. So we're going to loosen the cap and put in the funnel. This kind of funnel is my favorite one. It's short. There's some that are much longer, but this one actually does a pretty nice job. And we need to put in about a half quart of oil, brand new oil, the Magic Motor Honey. This does not have to be exact, but I'm just going to stop there and assess. So we'll just do this in stages, carefully. We'll give that just a second to run down in the crankcase, and we'll check out the dipstick again. And as I said, I automatically discard the first reading. Just wipe it off the first time through. Put it back in. Pull it out and look at the telltale. And I think we're there. All of the little things are covered. Could put it in a little bit more dash if we wanted, but that should be good enough to get us going. So at this point, our 5,000 mile oil change, which is really just a filter change, is done, and we're ready for motoring. If you're wondering about what our track record is with this car has 225,000 miles on it at this point, and is in good shape. We still get easily 30 miles to the gallon on highway trips. and we're still going. The engine seems strong and has plenty of power. So this is just a 4-cylinder. This is a GM code LE5, Ecotec 2.4 liter. Some were built in Tonawanda, some were built in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and very good engine as far as structure, durability, economy, and it's very quiet. So as a driver, that's more appreciated than I ever thought. So okay, so we're just going to start the engine, let it idle. There's no actual oil pressure gauge on this engine, but we just want to make sure we don't have any leaks. So let's take a look here. We're showing a 225,000 mile odometer. So we've had a lot of success with this vehicle. I don't hear any strange noises. If the lifter started clicking or something like this, then we'd have problems. Let's just go outside and take a look at the filter cartridge, what we disturbed, and make sure there's no issues. Okay, so we're just going to take a look here. What we disturbed. Looks like everything's good. That's the oil filter cartridge. I don't see any leaks, no drips. We should have full oil pressure here at idle, and I'm going to consider this job a success. So we'll monitor it again in 5,000 miles.